All right, so we have our vocabulary for Act 1, Part 2. Again, make sure that you're taking notes. You want to record down the definition. The parts that are underlined are the most important parts that you want to capture. In addition, you want to write down an example or sketch out a visual that will help you to remember the word. You can use my example or you can use an example of your own. In addition, it's really important that you write down a synonym for the vocabulary term, so a similar meaning word, as well as an antonym, a word that means the opposite. Really push yourself to try to come up with synonyms and antonyms that are the same part of speech as the vocabulary word itself. The synonyms and antonyms will help you to really process the word and think of the word in a more critical way. If you're struggling with coming up with synonyms and antonyms, I would encourage you to use resources such as thesaurus.com, or even you can look up the words in the dictionary, and many times they'll have synonyms and antonyms listed in the dictionary. So let's get started. Our first word is the word facetiously. Facetiously, you'll notice that I underline the ly. Whenever you see an ly at the end of the word, that denotes that this is going to be an adverb. It's a word essentially that's describing how an action is done. So facetiously is when a person says something that's intended to be funny, but it's really annoying to the person that they might be saying it to. One way of looking at this is that facetiously is similar to someone being sarcastic. So let me give you an example. I found this comic strip and I thought that this was something that we might see today. Two people talking. One person says that they get in trouble for texting while driving, and the other person says, oh, really? And the response is, yeah, they took my phone away for 2 weeks. Facetiously, the person says, for 2 weeks? 2 weeks isn't really a long time, but I guess even for me, if I had my phone gone for 2 weeks, that would feel like forever. And follows up with, well, what are you going to do with your thumbs if you don't have your phone for 2 weeks? So again, facetiously is more like sarcasm. The second word for today is the word placating. Placating is a verb, so think of different verb forms. We could say placate, placated. This is when you are making someone feel less angry or hostile. A person that might placate would be known as a peacemaker. They don't like there to be tension. So thinking of an example of placating, this is an image of maybe a messy room on the left, and perhaps this young person's parents are really angry, and to placate them, perhaps she decides to do laundry and to iron her clothes and to organize her room. So again, when you are placating someone, you are doing something to try to make them feel less angry, trying to calm the waters, so to speak. Our third word today is the word affliction. Notice that I've underlined tion. Shun words are usually nouns, they are things. Affliction is something that causes pain or suffering. And again, we're talking about the actual thing. We're not talking about a person, we're talking about a thing. So an example of affliction, well, we could technically say that being tackled is an affliction, like the actual act of tackling somebody is an affliction. So that would be an example. You can talk about this a little bit more figuratively and abstractly. It doesn't have to be as extreme as being tackled by a linebacker. It could be that the affliction is that somebody ignored you, and that was an affliction. It's something that brought pain to a person. The next word is the word morosely. Again, this is an adverb. This is the way that somebody would do something. So morosely is when you do something that's in a moody way, a gloomy way, a sad way. Some derivatives, oftentimes you'll hear the adjective morose. or even maybe the noun moroseness, but typically you'll hear either morose or morosely. So gloomy, sad, moody, doing something in that way. An example, I love Winnie the Pooh. Yesterday I even gave you guys an example from Winnie the Pooh. This is Eeyore, one of my favorites, but Eeyore always acted in a morose manner. So don't worry about me, go and enjoy yourself, I'll stay here and be miserable. Eeyore embodies moroseness. Our next word is the word combative. Combative is an adjective. I didn't underline this, but typically if you see something with an IVE, it'll either be an adjective or a noun. In this case, it is an adjective, and it means ready and eager to fight or argue. So typically we would use the word combative to describe a person or to describe I guess it could be an animal, but typically this is going to be to describe a person's behavior, a person's actions. So when I think of combative, I think about politicians. And of course, we have the debates that have happened historically and presently, thinking about the upcoming 2020 presidential elections. But definitely many politicians are combative with one another. All right, intimations. Intimations is a noun, is a thing. It's a hint that something may happen. It's an act of making something known, but it's making something known indirectly. So it might not be explicitly saying something, it's giving clues about it. So when I think about intimations and I think about clues, the best example that I could give you that's concrete was one of my favorite games when I was growing up, and that was the game Clue. But in real life, if we were thinking about an example of intimations, it might be a teacher that's giving you a hint that there will be a pop quiz on a subject matter, but they don't ever actually give you any direct statement that you're going to have a quiz. They're just giving hints at it. They are giving you intimations that there will be a quiz. All right, guys, that's the last word for today. Again, please make sure that you have those down. Make sure that you have your synonyms and antonyms, and make sure that you're studying both Part 1 and Part 2 vocabulary notes for your quiz.